keep California cowgirls from vanishing.
Welcome to the Urban Cowgirl Show, training our horses and miniature cows in ranch versatility. Penning Rusty and Suzie, our bull and heifer. Roping Rusty with Morgan horse Semi. Training Eve to drive cart. Training Eve to work over her haunches with a motor cow simulator. Training Eve to lay down. Training Eve to harness, pull a log. Training Semi to harness, pull a log on turf. Jumping at liberty to music, making our Morgan horses our partners. Training Eve on a cow roping simulator. Training on our driveway, which is covered by sand, so we have a straight track. Stepping over poles, jumping over crossbar jumps. Training in our trail obstacles area. Semi on the big steps. Morgan horse Sadie doing obstacles rainlessly. Semi drives a cart. Sadie pulls a log. Sadie learns to pull a cart. Miniature zebu heifer Suzie learns to drive a cart. Bull Rusty learns to pull a harrow. In addition to using a larger piece of plywood as a base on the far barrel, we also installed a handle there. We will have the option of doing the obstacle with 2 horses. This adjusted task requires precision handling of each horse and precision communication between the 2 riders.
Part 2 to negotiating, training, getting confidence from our horses on doing the board barrels obstacle. Now, we still have the piece of plywood on the far barrel as a base. And today we're working with only 1 horse, and that's Eve, Firecrest Easter Eve, and Katie's been working with her. But let me show you what we're aiming for in this show. What I just showed you was a second handle. We're going to make this a dynamic, kind of an adjusted board barrels obstacle, in that it's much better, at least at the beginning, to have the other end of the board be dynamic in case we have some problems with handles on our horses that are on this end. Now, Katie's been warming Eve up, and she's going to explain to you what Eve's frame of mind is and what her handles are like today. Katie?
I've been working with her over in the sun doing small steps and then stopping, and a little bit of serpentines going back and forth, and she's doing really good at that. But it's once we get back here near the obstacle, I don't know if it's the boards or the barrels or what being there, but she freaks out a little more and she can't do it as much, especially on the end down by the white plyboard. She doesn't like being near that at all, so just needs to get confidence.
And we need to make sure we have flexion, be able to move the body parts. Yes. And in case of stress, know what to do for safety. Okay? All right. So let's get a prerequisite display here of what Firecrest Easter Eve is willing to do without moving anything, but just walking around, if possible one-handed, but if necessary two-handed. And not only that, but we've got the Alreg using double reins on, that work on a pulley. Let me show you. This is a pulley, and if the rider needs to, remind Eve to give us vertical flexion. It's real easy to pick up that extra double rein that's sitting on her neck. Okay, let's just get a quick video now of Eve's present state of the art. Small steps, that's all we're interested in. Start and stop. And flexion, if possible, stress-free if possible. Being as close to the barrel as you can and still get the job done. And that's why we'd like to get rid of that big piece of plywood at the end so we can stay closer to the barrel. Eve is a little bit stressed, you can see it. And you can see how far away she's going from the barrel. And she's biting at her bit. She's looking a little bit stressed, but not out of control. All right, let's do this. Walk her out and come back and go the other direction. Again, this is just documentation of present state of the art. On the board barrels obstacle, the adjusted obstacle, the two-handed obstacle, the two-horse obstacle today with Firecrest Easter Eve. Two-handed it looks like. You're feeling you need to?
Yeah.
A lot of stress. Even more in this direction than the other direction. Now what I'd like you to do now is just try to let her walk fast around the barrel. If she wants to go, let her go. We walked out, now we're bringing her back in. Within parameters of safety, if they need to move, let them move. Yeah, let's just do that for a while. And then we say easy, steady, using that calm voice if we can. Oh, she's got nice vertical flexion even though you're not picking up the double reins. See, she's wanting to move because she's not real confident, but all right, let her move. We'll get past this stage. Yeah, good. She's getting praise. Yeah. Oh, much nicer. Now go out somewhere where you can get her mind off of it for a moment. Come back in, go the other direction. We're showing you all the techniques that we use here to train for, to master these obstacles, to give you tips on techniques you might be able to use with your horse. Oh, she's much calmer in that direction. Oh, nice. Nice. All right, that's all we're going to do with Eve today. We take it one small step at a time and keep challenging ourselves until we get the job done.
Here are clips of Sadie doing the adjusted board barrels obstacle.
Turn to work our adjusted board barrels obstacle. Katie has warmed up Sadie for 5 or 10 minutes here just by walking her around small steps. Close to the barrels, close to the board, one-handed. Sadie is Eve's daughter, but Sadie is her own horsenality. So let's see how she does. Just walking around in both directions. Everything needs to be done in both directions. That's beautiful. That was without stress, right, Katie? Yeah.
Yes, no.
All right. Okay, so you can either go out and come back in or turn around in any way you want. Let's do it in the other direction. Each horse has their good side and their bad side. This is our obstacles area. All kinds of things here that they've done. All kinds of deadfall on the ground, all kinds of critters here because we're right next to a creek bank. This is where I want my horses to learn to do these obstacles. In the safety of home, but in a natural setting. Checking it out? It's okay. We hope we can move that piece of plywood ultimately, but right now it gives us just a little bit more base at the far end. You see, when it's so big that it tends to hit their shoulders and so forth, we have to be really careful. But okay, Sadie is doing so well. We're gonna bite the bullet and take the next step. I'm gonna leave this camera here on the barrels board, the board barrels obstacle. You can see that Katie's picking up the chain. Now I'm going to go their chain, move the other end, not try to keep it on the board. That's a little bit unwieldy. We tried that in the last show in part 1. I'm going to see if I can move the other end of the board while Katie in saddle moves the head end. I'll call that the tail end. And we're going to show you how it goes and tell you how it goes in an interview after our attempt. When you're ready. What a challenging obstacle. Okay, but that was success. That was good answer. I would have liked to have kept the tail end of the board more centered on the far barrel so that we ultimately can get rid of that board. And someday we'd like to try it with a horse on each end. But boy, is it challenging. Right now, one horse at a time. Okay, so we're going to do it the other direction. Why don't you go out and come back in, Katie? Sadie's getting praise. She did it well in that direction too. Now, had I not been holding it up, more than likely, Katie would have had to have dropped the board. Because one day before I came out here and before we put the other handle on the tail end of the board, Sadie was walking around it and around here without stress whatsoever. And then when Katie tried to pick up the head end of the board, the handle, Sadie got stressed, wouldn't stop, and the only thing Katie could do was drop the board for safety reasons. And of course that spooked Sadie. So we said, okay, smaller steps, maybe a slightly new design, and that's why I added the chain handle on the other end. And repetition is the name of the game. Katie is definitely agreeing with me, and I'm going to go close now so she can tell you from her point of view as the rider how it felt before I came out, when we started moving the board. Any suggestions for repetition, just like it is, or any different? Katie?
I think what we're doing with her is working really well. Having the board hanging next to her seemed to be a lot of a distraction, but I think as she gets used to it, she'll be able to handle it, not a problem.
So we'll just repetition just like we did?
Yeah, I think she's definitely closer at succeeding in this than the other two horses are.
Okay, so. Every horse analogy has their pluses and minuses, and you just saw a big plus for Shadrack, Sonenshine, Sadie, Eve's daughter.
Katie on semi at the adjusted board barrels obstacle.
This is my cow horse, so to speak. She has the most experience with cow work, but she's also done many, many, many obstacles back here, often. And you can go back to my prior shows on Urban Cowgirl channel to see them. Just click on the semi tab. Now, we have introduced her to this board barrels obstacle in the past. Look in part 1 of the show about tips on training for board barrels obstacles. But we didn't have the other chain, the other handle chain on the tail of the board. So we're going to do with Semi what we did with Eve and Sadie earlier in the show. And then, if all goes well, we'll choose the better of the two horses and try it with two horses. Okay, so again, I'm going to walk up. As soon as Katie has gone around a few times, Semi always likes to investigate. And we still have the plywood there on the tail end just to give it a bigger base. We hope to be able to remove that plywood as we get a better handle on our handles. Especially the handles of moving the horse's body parts. Good. When Katie's ready, I'll have her stand at the head. She'll pick up the chain. Little bit of tension. Just now we saw gaping. All right, we're just going to wait for you to position yourself. Pick up the chain, and I'm going to be walking over after I put the camera in a safe place in case we get spooking. I'm over here by the tree.
It's all right, Sam. Sammy is looking spooky in her eyeballs. This is a little bit spooky to her. One small step at a time. Let's see if it's going to work with Sam. She's still looking spooky. We've learned from experience not to go on to the next step until the prerequisite skill is sound, reliable, consistent. So we're going to turn off the camera and give Katie a chance to put Semi in position and lift that chain without getting bulging eyeballs, which is a sign of stress. In the spirit of one small step at a time, see that Semi is standing quietly and the chain is up in Katie's hands.
Now, we may not be able to go all the way around like we did with Sadie in our last session. Maybe we can just lift it up and move an inch or two, again, in the spirit of one small step at a time. I'm going to walk over there and pick up the tail end. I'm pretty sure this camera was in the right place to see what just happened. Just picking it up made Semi want to get away from it. And we thought that might happen. We weren't sure until we tried it. So we aborted in as safe as manner as we can, and now we're going to get her confidence up again. And at least get to the stage where Katie can lean over, pick up the chain, and bring it up to Semi's head area, and maybe just lift the board. Not swivel it at all. We're trying it again now. Semi's looking calm. She's in position. We're not going to move the board around its tail at all, so I'm not even going to go there. We've already learned that's too much for Semi today in this session. Katie suggested maybe we should bring Sadie out and show Semi, which we might try. There are many techniques to use, and you use what works. There you go. There you go. See, she saw that thing move. She said, uh-oh, what is it? It moved. You know, and I don't blame her. Repetition. We're going to do that step again. Trying it again. Again, Semi's looking really quiet. Pick it up. Oh, good. Oh, good. She survived, but now it looks like she's going to back up. No, she's giving us a little bit more trust. And you know what? That's probably a good place to stop for today.
Sadie and Eve move the board.
Hey, we're doing a session for the first time with two horses with our adjusted board barrels obstacle. And we're going to have very small goals today. Sadie, we decided, is our best board barrels obstacle horse so far. And Eve is our second best. What I'm doing on the tail end of the board is just lifting it up. What Katie is doing is lifting it up and moving forward around the barrels if she can. And we do have a camera operator today who is going to be here on foot to help us if there's any rushing, bolting, whatever, so that the board does not become a spooky object and so that nothing dangerous happens. Today we expect just to show you, we hope, a few minutes of progress on the board barrels adjusted obstacles. So here we go. Eve, by the way, I've said this before, but any new viewers, is Sadie's mom. Whoop. Remember, this has to be done, if you're doing it correctly, with one hand. These chains make a lot of noise, and we're trying to get our horses used to the noise. These chains are rather long so that we can pick the board up and have a lot of handle. Okay, so why don't we do this? Pick it up together and just stand there. Now you see the board is moving, and you know what? My camera operator is going to have to move the camera so you can see it. So we're going to put it back down and wait for him to move the camera. Now, yesterday when we did this with Semi, she got freaked out by the board in the air. Look, that Eve and Sadie do not consider this a spooky object. So what I'm going to do is what I said we do, one small step at a time. I'm going to hold it. Katie is going to try to come forward with Sadie.
Oh.
Now I'm going to try to move a little bit with Eve, not too fast, because Eve is not quite as good as Sadie on this, especially one-handed. So I put it down on the barrel. And please note that I took that big piece of plywood off this tail end barrel because I knew it would have been a problem trying to get around it. Okay. Now I'm looking to where I want to go. I'm lifting up the board. I'm going to walk forward. Whoa. Whoa. Look how much better Sadie is at it. And she's my baby. I did have to put the board down because look where Eve took me. And one-handed, she didn't allow me to direct her back to the head barrel. So I'm going to try now to one-handed get her back there. With repetition, she'll understand the task. She'll give me the right answer. And I'll be showing you because there'll most likely be a part 3 to this show. Back. Over. Good. Not quite close enough. Little leg. Small step forward. I'm looking not at her but at the board. Whoa. Good. And Sadie couldn't have done it any better. So what I'm going to ask, I want Sadie to know that her job is done. But I'm going to ask Eve to allow me to bend down and pick up the head end of this board. Because she gave me the wrong answer a few minutes ago. So I'm going to ask her to go ever so slightly closer. Whoa. Small steps. I'm leaning over. She has to understand that that doesn't mean she's supposed to move forward or backward or sideward. She's supposed to stand. The chain is clanking. I'm going to just lift up this end. So there it is in the air. And she's given me the right answer. I'm going to put it down. And I'm going to say that we've accomplished our objective in today's session, and please tune in for future programs about our progress.
Our cast of characters: Sadie and Eve, Sammy, Rusty, and Suzie. Heifer calf Sela. For more information, www.cowgirlchannel.com.